We saw a radio message from you saying sorry, really sorry.
Sorry guys. Sorry man. Really sorry.
What was that about, and what was the feeling like in the car today?
It's just about my performance, my poor performance.
Is that because there's no reason? You don't know why?
There's no reasons, just I'm not doing the job.
Is that a Saturday thing? Is this...
Well, it happens every Saturday, yes.
Okay, all right.
Lewis Hamilton hit rock bottom in qualifying for the 2025 Bahrain GP. While Leclerc shines, the 7-time champion barely manages a 9th place finish. But is it his fault, or is the SF25 betraying him? Lewis Hamilton arrived at the secure circuit with high expectations. Ferrari had introduced the first major update package of the year, and both the team and the British driver spoke with confidence. During the practice sessions, Hamilton showed promising signs. His pace was competitive, and he himself publicly stated that the improvements seemed to be working. The atmosphere inside the Ferrari pit box was upbeat, but everything changed in qualifying. When Q3 began, Hamilton had the opportunity to consolidate that strong performance. However, as the minutes ticked by, frustration began to grow. His best lap was more than a second slower than the pole position achieved by Oscar Piastri in the McLaren, a huge gap in a category where differences are often measured in thousandths of a second. The blow wasn't just on the clock, but also emotional. Hamilton not only finished 9th on the grid, he finished 6 places behind his teammate Charles Leclerc, who finished 3rd. This immediate contrast raised questions both inside and outside the team. Was it a setup issue? Or is Hamilton not adapting well to the new SF25? The situation worsened when one of his Q3 laps was deleted for exceeding track limits. A penalty that, while it wouldn't have given him pole position, could have brought him closer to the front of the pack. Upon exiting the car, Hamilton was direct and self-critical. It was pretty straightforward. There's not much to say. I'm just not doing a good enough job, so I have to keep improving. No excuses. No blaming the car. Just pure frustration and assumed responsibility. That brief but meaningful reaction reflects the driver's state of mind. This isn't the Hamilton who usually dominates qualifying sessions or the one who firmly controls race weekends. Here in Bahrain, the 7-time champion looked vulnerable, something rarely seen since he arrived in F1. His body language, his tone of voice, and above all, his results spoke of a driver facing a difficult phase in this new era with Ferrari. The disappointing qualifying in Bahrain wasn't just a bad day. It was a warning message. Ferrari and Hamilton have work ahead of them, and they know it. Because while the championship is just getting started, these kinds of days can set the tone for the entire season. The 2025 Bahrain Grand Prix not only marked the start of the season for many teams, but also the debut of Ferrari's first significant updates to its SF25. This new technical package, focusing especially on the car's floor, had been anticipated for weeks and generated high expectations both within the team and among fans. Ferrari decided to implement a series of aerodynamic modifications aimed at improving the car's stability and efficiency, 2 factors that had been inconsistent in the first few tests of the year. The update was no small feat. The floor was completely redesigned, incorporating new deflectors, adjustments to the leading edge of the floor tunnel, and also modifications to the wings that surround that area. Technically, the goal was to substantially improve how air flows to the rear of the car, with the aim of increasing downforce without penalizing straight-line speed. One of the highlights was the redesign of the section known as the boat tail, a critical part in the transition of airflow to the diffuser. Ferrari also worked on vortex shedding, an essential feature for keeping the car stable during fast corners. Even the rear wing pillar was tweaked, with a modified fin that aims to slightly improve the car's overall efficiency. In theory, these updates were a solution to the deficit Hamilton had identified in previous races. The British driver himself was enthusiastic during Friday's free practice session. He stated that the improvements were working and took the opportunity to thank the technical team and engineers who, in his words, had worked day and night in the wind tunnel and on the manufacturing of these new parts. Everything indicated that Ferrari had taken a step forward. However, the reality on Saturday was very different. Despite the initial positive feeling, the qualifying performance left many questions open. The car seemed to continue struggling to find an optimal balance between speed and stability. Hamilton couldn't extract the SF25's performance, while his teammate Leclerc did, making it clear that either the updates aren't working equally well for both drivers, or one of them has adapted more quickly to the new setup. This raises a critical question. Was this technical package a step forward, or a double-edged sword? For an update to be successful, it's not enough for it to work under simulation conditions or in the wind tunnel. It must be translated to the track, and above all, it must suit the driving styles of both drivers. In Hamilton's case, his preference for a stiffer, lower car may not be compatible with the SF25's behavior when subjected to these new aerodynamic loads. Furthermore, there's the possibility that Ferrari hasn't yet found the ideal setup to maximize the potential of the new surface in real-world qualifying conditions. This is a common risk when introducing such complex updates, especially if the car is still being understood by the team. In short, what appeared to be a major technical breakthrough could be revealing new difficulties. While the SF25's updates represent a tremendous effort on the part of the Italian team, it remains to be seen whether they truly make a positive difference to overall performance. And above all, whether Ferrari will be able to adjust them to the needs of both drivers to prevent what should be an advantage from becoming a source of frustration. The 2025 Bahrain Grand Prix weekend wasn't just significant for the internal struggle at Ferrari, but for the broader picture that emerged on the Formula One grid. While Hamilton struggled with his frustrating ninth-place finish and Leclerc tried to maintain the prancing horse's honor from third, other teams and drivers gave clear signs of how this season could unfold. McLaren surprised everyone. Oscar Piastri took pole position with a near-perfect lap, dominating the fast sections of the track and proving that the MCL38 is not only competitive, but possibly the most balanced car at this stage of the championship. This performance wasn't a one-off. McLaren had already shown pace in pre-season, but now confirmed it with action. The Woking team seems to have found a formula that combines speed, aerodynamic efficiency, and a setup that suits its drivers. Piastri is capitalizing on that potential, and his pole position was a statement of intent. George Russell finished second in the Mercedes. Although the German team has yet to regain the dominant form that characterized them in the hybrid era, this result is encouraging. Mercedes, which has been inconsistent in recent years, showed signs of having taken a step forward. The car still seems to have certain limitations, especially in race pace, but in qualifying they managed to sneak into the mix, something that will be key if they want to stay in contention throughout the season. The other major absentee from the qualifying podium was Red Bull. Max Verstappen, coming off a win in Japan, only managed to qualify 8th. An unexpected and worrying result. It wasn't just a poor lap, but a series of issues that appear to have severely limited the RB20's performance. The exact reasons have not been made public, but radio reports revealed discontent within the team, and Verstappen was clear in stating that the car was very far from ideal. The fact that Red Bull didn't take center stage in qualifying in Bahrain is perhaps one of the strongest indications that this year's title fight could be more open than expected. In this context, Ferrari finds itself in an ambiguous position. On the one hand, Leclerc salvaged the day with a solid third place, demonstrating that the car has pace in the right hands. On the other, the gap to Hamilton highlights the remaining inconsistencies, both technically and strategically. And while teams like McLaren and Mercedes appear to have better interpreted the development direction for 2025, Ferrari continues to search for its internal balance. The performance of other championship players also deserves mention. Aston Martin has been left in the dust at the start of the season, and Alpine continues to struggle to break out of the midfield. In contrast, Williams managed to score points in the previous race thanks to a brilliant performance by Franco Colapinto, fueling talk of his possible rise within the Red Bull ecosystem. All of this in a context where the driver market is beginning to heat up, and the team's strategic decisions in the upcoming races could be decisive. The Bahrain GP then not only exposed Hamilton's individual struggle within Ferrari, it also showed us a shift in dynamics at the top of Formula One, where the old dominators now face siege from revitalized teams. These types of weekends are a trend. And if the trend continues, 2025 could be one of the most unpredictable seasons in recent years. One of the most striking aspects of the weekend in Bahrain wasn't just Lewis Hamilton's poor performance, but the huge gap to his teammate Charles Leclerc. Both drivers are using the same car, the Ferrari SF25, equipped with identical technical updates. However, while Leclerc managed to position himself in third place on the grid, Hamilton could only manage 9th. This sixth-place gap between his teammates is more than just a performance difference. It's indicative of a deeper problem. This isn't the first time this season that Hamilton has fallen behind Leclerc. Already at the Japanese Grand Prix, the Briton had indicated that something with his car wasn't working as expected. He mentioned a persistent deficit on his side of the garage, though he avoided going into details. In Bahrain, history seemed to repeat itself. While Leclerc was extracting the best from the SF25, Hamilton struggled to remain competitive, even after the long-awaited updates. One of the most talked about theories in the paddock has to do with the difference in driving styles. Hamilton has expressed on more than one occasion his preference for a stiffer, lower-riding car, characteristics that allow him to better feel the contact with the road surface and maximize his braking and cornering capabilities. However, Ferrari has proven particularly sensitive to these settings. In fact, lowering the car too much has led to excessive wear on the underbody, something that already cost him a disqualification at the Chinese Grand Prix. The SF25 doesn't seem to tolerate this type of setup well, and this could be seriously limiting Hamilton's ability to adapt. On the other hand, Leclerc has adopted a more conservative approach, seeking a setup that prioritizes the car's overall stability, even if it means sacrificing some speed in qualifying. This approach seems to be working best with Ferrari's current technical package. Leclerc's consistency and ability to adapt to the car's characteristics have allowed him to maintain a solid performance, minimizing errors and making the most of every opportunity. Another factor exacerbating this contrast is the communication between driver and team. While Leclerc has been careful in stating his expectations for improvements, lowering expectations publicly, Hamilton has been much more direct and emotional in his statements. The Briton, accustomed to fighting at the front and demanding immediate results, is experiencing a steeper adaptation curve in this new environment, and this is evident both on and off the track. The difference in results, then, is not just a matter of pure speed. It's also a sign that each driver is approaching the car's development from different philosophies. While Leclerc seems to have found a comfort zone within the SF25's handling, Hamilton is still searching for the ideal balance between his driving style and the car's technical limitations. In modern Formula One, that difference can mean several tenths per lap, or, as we saw in Bahrain, 6 places on the grid. This contrast raises important questions for Ferrari's immediate future. Will the team be able to develop the car in a way that works for both drivers? Or will they have to lean toward one style over the other to maximize their championship chances? What is certain is that while Leclerc capitalizes on every session, Hamilton faces one of the most complex challenges of his career. Not only adapting to a new car, but doing so while his teammate is outperforming him on the same stage and with the same tools. The 2025 Bahrain Grand Prix left Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari facing a dilemma that will set the tone for the rest of the season. Is what happened in Sakir an evolving crisis or simply a learning opportunity disguised as disappointment? For Hamilton, the qualifying result represents a blow that goes beyond a poor lap or a strategic error. The Briton didn't join Ferrari to occupy the midfield positions. His signing was an ambitious gamble, both personally and sportingly. He came from a career at Mercedes where, despite not winning championships in recent years, he remained a constant figure at the front of the grid. Now, in a new environment with a different car, a different technical philosophy, and a young teammate who has already mastered the single-seater, Hamilton is forced to readjust his approach, his style, and perhaps even his expectations. However, it is precisely in these scenarios where Hamilton has repeatedly demonstrated his ability to reinvent himself. In the past, he's had seasons in which he started from behind and ended up fighting for the title. He has experience, resilience, and, above all, a strategic ability that few can match. Qualifying in Bahrain doesn't define his year, but it does send a clear message. Talent isn't enough. You have to understand the car, work with the engineers, and accept that adapting is just as important as competing. From the Ferrari team's perspective, the situation is equally critical. On the one hand, the SF25 showed positive signs. With Leclerc, the car was competitive and achieved a position that allows them to aim for the podium. The technical updates worked, but not for both drivers. And in a sport where every detail counts, this internal disparity could be the factor that determines whether Ferrari will be a solid contender or just a supporting player in the fight for the championship. The key is how Ferrari responds to this internal tension. Will they choose to develop the car around Leclerc, who is already comfortable with the current package? Or will they look for a more balanced solution that allows Hamilton to regain his form without compromising his teammates' performance? It's a strategic decision that could have long-term implications. The truth is that, despite the poor result, Bahrain also offers a path. Hamilton will start 9th in the race, but Bahrain is one of the circuits with the most overtaking opportunities on the calendar. With a good strategy, solid long-run pace, and error-free execution, he could still salvage valuable points and begin to rebuild his confidence. Throughout his career, it has been precisely in moments of difficulty that he has shown the most. And Ferrari, if it can understand what went wrong and capitalize on this weekend's data, can make a significant leap forward in the upcoming rounds. Rather than a setback, what happened in Bahrain could become a turning point. An awkward moment, yes, but also an opportunity for adjustment. Because in Formula One, as in any elite competition, true champions are not measured by how they celebrate victories, but by how they get back up after falling.